Welcome everybody to the fees and funding session. So for parents, I know this is something that is very, very important to you. As the Center for Student Recruitment, we get a lot of inquiries from parents, especially when it comes to the fees and funding, because studying is not cheap. It is quite a big expense. So today we have the experts from Student Fees here to share some insights with you about the funding that we offer at Stellenbosch University, and also what you can expect as parents should your child come to Stellenbosch University next year. So here we have Candice Egan. She will be chatting with us, and there's Bianca Andrews. They've been doing this for some time, so they have a lot of wealth of knowledge, and they are also aware of the anxieties that does come with student fees and funding. So I trust that they'll be able to offer a lot of good insight today. She will be presenting, and then afterwards we will have a Q&A session. You are welcome to scan the QR code on the screen that you see, and you can submit a question to me, and then I will kind of go through the questions at the end as part of the Q&A. If you're not interested in being that tech savvy, and a question does just come up, I'm more than welcome, or more than willing to just go around with the microphone. There's not many of us here, and then you can also ask your question like that. All right, perfect. You ready to kick it off?
Thank you. Hi, good morning, everyone. I know it's super early, and it's super early to be talking heavy things like finances. And there's so few of us in the space, so I'm going to please, if anything comes up, raise your hand, let's deal with it, because I'm sure everybody else in the room will possibly have something similar related. I think one of the real challenges when coming to things like this is there is so much information. So I've got a slide deck, and it gives you information as to what we're up to and where to go and things like that. But I'm going to just talk to them very loosely, as opposed to just reading off of slides and giving you information that you can get off the website, right? So first of all, student finance at Stellenbosch University is in two main blocks for the undergraduates. There's student fees, which get your statements, deal with debit orders, deal with other things in the background. And then there's the Center for Undergraduate Bursaries and Loans. It's a bit of a bad name because loans is not something we do very much of anymore in terms of the university administering loans, but there are still some that exist in the space. There are different categories of funding. There's funding that are around merit awards, and I'll touch on those a little bit later. It's not something that you can apply for, but it's something you students can work towards now, so that when your matric results come through, there's an opportunity to be rewarded for that effort, right? So that's important to know. We have SU funding opportunities. So there's a place on our website where you can go and you can make application. Please make application, right? Because A, you don't know what's going to happen. B, as students, you think you have an idea of what's happening in your parents' finances, and you possibly don't have a clear picture. There's a lot of assessment and consideration that goes into it. So rather be on the list and not need it than not be on the list and then not be there and when you actually need the support. Okay, please, I really, that if you leave here with one message, is please make application on that funding opportunity list. The opportunity is opened on the 1st of October. It's at finaid.sun.ac.za. And there's a link, and it takes you through the process, right? But we'll touch on it. Then there's government funding, and that's your NSFAS pool. So that is for students from households of under 350 combined household income annually. That application process is decentralized, so it follows you as a student, not as coming to the university. So if you apply and you get offers from Stellenbosch, from UP, from UWC, it will go with you wherever you go. It's not specific to the university, okay? Those applications are open as well. Be very careful in how you go about it. A lot of errors get made insofar as clicking the wrong box. You're applying for a TVET as opposed to a university entrance, and it really messes you up. NSFAS is a NSFAS is a necessary evil. It's an important funder in the space for households that can't afford higher education, but it is a difficult partner. So you've got to make sure that your own admin is in line, because you can't rely on them to do it accurately for the most part. And I know that sounds very discouraging, but it is a necessary evil, and I think it is definitely serving a very important purpose in the higher education space. And then we've got general fees, and we'll quickly talk about our contact information and then the Q&A. So first off, we've got the Centre for Bursaries and Loans, as I mentioned. That is where we look at students with financial need, and we administer government funding, we administer institutional funding, we administer donor funding that comes in. And there are opportunities across the board, both related to merit, to demography, as well as to financial need, right? So never count anything out, although in fairness, there are no guarantees with it. But again, you've got to be on the list to stand a chance to benefit from the funding opportunities. So we touched on the merit awards, and this is solely for academic achievement, right? And it's automatic, so there's no application process. So that's where I'm speaking to you guys who are busy prepping for your exams, is if you do well there, automatic calculations will get made, and there's opportunities for merit award. Do you have anything to add on that? Because you manage a lot of that.
I think we're going to get there now.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, so there's merit award on a sliding scale for performance, and then there's also excellence awards that are considered and calculated by the university based on the information that comes through from the examining board. So there's lots of opportunity, and I hope it's impetus for all of you to really put in the effort for your academics. Yes.
This for the last 2 or 3 years, we now have excellence awards for first, and there are different categories.
Yeah.
So the aggregates usually like the
so there's a minimum, right? But the minimum's here, and the 15 average ends there, right? So even if you're above the average, there's a lot of people that are achieving really, really high. So you want to be up there, right? Top 15, yeah.
So we're looking at, well, past experience, the 90 plus.
Yeah.
Category. It's those that normally make the national list and all of that. But it's possible.
It's all possible. Yeah.
A lot of students doing very well. And like I said, I think there are 4 categories. It's the Chances Award, Achiever, Access, and Excel.
There. Yeah. So it's those 4. Okay. Okay. Do you want to take this?
Yeah.
Okay, so currently our applications have opened the 1st of October, and it's only for the prospective students, which are our grade 12 students this year. And it's on our website, very easy. It's not it takes you about 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes. And basically, all we need from you is what you need to have handy is basically your parents' information, financial information. Yeah, so it's from the 1st of October to the 30th of November, only for South African students. And if you have refugee status or permanent residency, you are also able to apply. There we have the process. I'm not going to go into detail, but it's very easy. You need your supporting, just to make it easier, go on our website. There's a tab that says application process, and it gives you all the information that you would need before even starting the process. So it tells you which supporting documents you would need to upload and all of that, but it's very easy. Very simple. In the past, I don't know if there might be parents that have older children here that were here. In the past, it was a very tedious process. You couldn't move past the one if you didn't do this. This time, it's like a little chat box. quick to do. And as you submit your application, you get an acknowledgement to say that you have applied. And then we will also send confirmation to all students. I think
They've received the application.
that
That
we've received the application, yes. And yeah, I want to add, unfortunately, you don't immediately, because we wait for registration to happen as well. So the answers aren't immediate, and it's one application, but you do get considered for multiple bursaries. That's the thing with the university's application process, is that we do have donor funding, different requests from different foundations, trusts, individuals, that they or companies sending us requests saying we want X, Y, and Z. We only work from our application pool. That is why Candice has said, if you don't put your name on the list, we can't consider you for any type of requests coming through. And these requests come through throughout the whole year. So it's not something that is just December, like we receive the request in December or January, and if you don't get an answer, that's that. No, we get up to October, November, we still have requests coming through. So it is really worth your time to do a 3, 4, 5 minutes application just to get your name there and to be considered for so many bursary opportunities. Yeah. Anyone you want to add?
Yeah, so I'm actually the problem. So I wear two hats at the university at the moment. I'm in the student finance space and undergraduate bursaries and loans, working with the nuts and bolts of things that are happening there. But my main gig is I'm actually the fundraiser for the university, and I specialize in student support and scholarship fundraising, right? So we've got a lot of corporate clients, particularly, that come through towards the latter part of the year that say, I've got leftover budget, I need to spend it before 15th of December. Love those people, but I need to then find the students that match their criteria, right? So the first place I'm going to is that list. And if you're not on that list, I can't help you. And the reason for that is there's so much need in the higher education space for support. As you mentioned earlier, higher education, not just Stellenbosch University, is awfully expensive. Doesn't matter where you go, what province you're in, higher education is expensive. And it's not just the tuition, it's the accommodation, it's the living expenses, it's all those things, right? So help your parents out, get your name on every list possible. At the beginning of the year, every year, irrespective of your year of study, you get bombarded with information, you get bombarded with emails. You won't read 80% of them, unfortunately, but in those emails are opportunities. So just be alive to that, please, because you can miss out, and it would be just such a shame. Okay. Is it just me? Has the light gone down? Okay, all right. I'm not having a moment. Okay. All right. So before we move on to NSFAS, are there any questions around the SU funding? Yes, sir. No, it's annual. Yeah, because situations change, right? So yeah. No problem. Yeah, so it is an annual process. There's a lot of communication that goes out. So right now, it's only open for incoming students. The existing students, their window's now closed, right? And so next year, when you guys usually start? It's usually July. July is for existing students to get on the list for the next year, right? And then we'll worry about the new first years coming in this time again. All right. Yes. It depends on the nature of the bursary that you are successful for. So like the merit awards and things, it's usually earlier in the year. If there's specific bursary programs, they all have their own timing. We try and get it out as early as possible, but we have to wait for registration to settle down. So I think realistically, to manage expectation, if you don't hear anything in the first term, don't worry about it. Don't, I know that sounds possibly a little bit mad because you don't know what's happening for the rest of the year, but unfortunately, that is the nature of the beast. The lights are going off. So, like, A, don't panic, and B, just keep persisting. There isn't enough funding to go around for everybody that applies, and there are very specific criteria depending on the bursary fund. But again, it's about being on that list so that if an opportunity does present, it can be picked up. And it can be anywhere from February to the 15th of December for that particular academic year. It just depends on how the money flows. Yeah, you can. So again, on the refund type space, as long as there's proof that it's your money and not money that's coming in from an external source or whatever the case may be, and it meets the necessary criteria, there is room for a reimbursement if fees have been paid and a bursary comes in later. Any other question? Sorry. It's on the website. It's on the financial aid, finaid.sun.ac.za, and the application process is there. So that's where your student needs to apply and then in that application, they get on the list. Yeah? Right? Yes, sorry. It is the ID number, isn't it?
We do get our information about the offers that went out from your office. So we get a list. So as students are getting a provisional offer and they want to apply, we place them. So it's not if there are students that are struggling to apply because of a student number or ID number, they should just contact our office and we'll open up the website for them. Yeah, so because we might miss because students are receiving their offers.
Yeah, so I think that's an important point, right? So if you hear, you've obviously hopefully received a provisional offer or there's an application in, right? So if there's a provisional offer, that list of students is sent to us, so the ID numbers and stuff are loaded, so it gives you opportunity to apply. Otherwise, anybody from anywhere would apply to that space, right? So it's only students that have got provisional offers are eligible to apply for SU funding opportunities because you're going to be a student, right? So is there anything else on that? Okay, so Stellenbosch University doesn't have registration fees, right? So you don't need to, on day one, put down any sort of money to be able to start your academic journey. Billing starts once you've registered, once things have settled down, and it's usually May is the first expected payment on the student account. So there is no registration fee. So if anybody's saying you need a registration fee, they're giving you the wrong information. SU doesn't have registration fees, upfront registration fees. Your cost of attendance gets calculated and you'll start getting the bills from May.
Yeah. So the students, if you have students that are currently in the system, the only problem that you would face with registration is if you are owing the university. Then you will have to settle that account first before you could register. But if you are a newcomer, on the first day, nothing. The university does have a fee structure that they will communicate to all parents as to when it will start. And I think it's about 20%. And then, yeah, it's worked out for each student. It's the same. So, yeah, luckily, you don't need any fees on day one.
Anything else? Okay. All right, now we're going on to NSFAS. So the National Student Financial Aid Scheme is a government-funded. Okay. NSFAS is a government-funded bursary scheme. It's been through many iterations. It is a necessary evil in the space. It puts a lot of money into higher education. It affords opportunities to students that wouldn't normally have an opportunity, and it is fantastic from that perspective. It is administratively incredibly cumbersome, especially if you are not taking a straight line from first year to graduation. If things happen along the way, which that's life, it does, it becomes complicated. But I think the important things to know about NSFAS is that the eligibility criteria is incredibly rigid, insofar as you have to be a South African citizen or a permanent resident. You have to have passed grade 12, obviously, must plan to study at a university, and the household income does not exceed 350,000 Rand. If it's 350,001 Rand, you will not be considered. It is an application process and an administrative challenge that lives outside of the university, right? So that application, you've got to go online and you've got to make the application there. They talk about registration fees, okay? That's not applicable to Stellenbosch University, but again, because NSFAS is national, other universities have registration fees, therefore it's on the list, right? It's tuition and books, accommodation or transport, and living allowance. Now, at the moment, and I say at the moment because NSFAS keeps changing the guardrails, but at the moment they cover full tuition costs for your academic year. There is a contribution towards books that is 5,425 Rand or something peculiar. Unfortunately, your books are going to be costing a hell of a lot more than 5,000 Rand, depending on your program, just a heads up, parents. Accommodation is capped at 55. I think we're at 50. Yeah, so again, there's a distinction that they make between rural and urban. So at the beginning of the year, as a default setting, Tygerberg is considered urban and we're considered rural, and then they pay less for rural. And then we fight every year to get a dispensation to be considered as urban because of the cost of accommodation in Stellenbosch, and we're certainly not rural. And then eventually it comes through, right? So again, it's not a straight line with them. But again, I think the important things to know is that your accommodation is capped. So if it's capped at 52 and your rental is, I can't do the math, is even if it's at 6,000 Rand a month, you're going to have a shortfall on your account, right? And that shortfall is your problem to cover unless you get a bursary or unless you get other funding in from elsewhere. And similarly with living allowance refers to meals, and that basically works out to 17,000-ish a year at the moment. If you are not on NSFAS and you eat in res and you have 3 meals a day, 7 days a week for the 10 months that you're at university, the real cost is 35,000 Rand. So if you're a NSFAS student, you need to be very careful with the funding that is provided for you in that space unless you have top-up funding for that. But similarly for students not on NSFAS or on any other bursary, I think it's one of the things that catch first years out is that they don't realize how expensive things are. And it's quite lacquer to go to the Nielsen and grab a coffee and grab a sami and what have you at lunchtime, but your money just disappears into the ether doing that. So again, I think parents, you will hear terms or see things on your fee account that go, what is this? What is COB? What is this? And that is university credit being turned into cash to go to the Nielsen, which is over there. And so again, I think it's important that you tell your students and that the students are also aware just to be conscious of how they're engaging. I think particularly in the first term in particular, it's super exciting and it's a wonderful experience and there's so much happening. And it's easy to get carried away and form bad habits in terms of how you manage your budget and you spend. And it's going to catch you by mid-year, I guarantee it. we're not trying to scare you, but it is just the reality. Between us, we've got nearly 40 years of experience in the student space, and these are just the realities. And I think students and possibly parents are blissfully unaware at the beginning of the year, and then they get the first fee account and you go, what is this? Why is there another 9,000 Rand on this account? And then your student will go, well, it's COB. And you go like, well, what's that? And that's me eating off campus. So it's very important that you just be aware of that. Sorry, I'm digressing a little bit in the NSFAS space, but the COB component catches students that are on a particularly tight budget. And if you're on NSFAS, you are on a particularly tight budget. Nothing wrong with that. It is manageable. There are support opportunities at the university that help augment some of that funding. So there's a meal of the day option in res for all NSFAS students. So it's basically much cheaper to be able to have a slightly adjusted meal, so that you at least get proper food and proper nutrition and you don't go hungry, and it makes your cap last. Again, NSFAS is open. They close on the 15th of November. They do not entertain late applications. So please get yourself together and get that off, right? Yeah. Yeah. SU funding opportunity.
Which they probably can't cover, but if your name is on the list, you automatically could be considered for top-up funding to cover that shortfall, to cover the gap.
And if you want to know what that shortfall looks like, it's anywhere between 15 and 50,000 Rand. And that's often NSFAS has come in with their funding, right? So please bear that in mind. This slide is just on the NSFAS application process. You don't have to have an SU number or anything like that. It's all ID based. It's irrespective of what university you end up going to. But again, just be super careful that you are doing it right. We've had a lot of students that applied for TVET instead of university, and it was a bit of a hot mess, and they stuck without funding. All right, student fees. So there are 3 broad categories. So it's your tuition, which you've spoken about. So tuition is all your module costs. So all the subjects that you do for each semester. And with each of those, there are costs that are either program or module costs. So like if you're in a lab, there's a lab fee because you might go and break beakers and things like that. There's also resource packs and things that are charged. So those are the sort of things you're going to see on your statement of account that are attached to your cost of attendance, right? Then accommodation. Similarly, if you're in residence, there's a res fee, or if you're living privately, but you're on NSFAS, your accommodation component will reflect on your fee account. If you are living privately and are not on a bursary or anything like that, the money's not the coverage of your external expenses doesn't run through the university. Obviously, you won't see it on the fee account. Similarly with meals, if you are in res and you are charging your meals to your fee account, those will reflect. It's also a good opportunity for parents to see what's being loaded to the fee statement around meals and things like that. I think it's been an interesting exercise, particularly with some of the growing boys where they've been playing a lot of sport and they eat a lot, and then their meal quota doesn't last them as well as it should. And again, it's about being sensible about how you approach things like that. And then there's also a lot of miscellaneous costs that will show up on the fee statement. They're not just random, they're necessary. So there's network registration, student card. Stop losing your student card. It's $80 a pop. Next year might be more expensive. I've seen one fee statement where there've been 4 cards loaded in one term. It adds up. Then you also need to load printing credits if you want to print out your assignments and things on campus. There's laundry charges if you're living in res, and you make use of the laundry services, let's put it that way. Clubs and societies, again, students, be really careful. Don't sign up for everything because everything costs. Be sensible and considered, largely with your fee account, but also largely with your time. Because again, it's super exciting. O week, everyone's like, join us, it's so much fun. And it is, but just think about the time cost that comes with the bill as well. If you are living So we've got a very strong residence culture at Stellenbosch University, and it's great if you're able to get into a residence. If you aren't able to get into residence, it's still fine. We've got a wonderful commuter student community. So everybody who lives not in res still forms part of clusters and are involved in activities and are involved in opportunities. And there's a safe space on campus if you are between classes and you've got nowhere to go because you can't go to your room because you live off campus. There's a space for you to go and work, a space for you to rest, a space for you to eat as well. So there might be a bill for that, and house fees, parking, if you're fortunate enough to have a vehicle. So those are the sort of things that parents can expect to see on fee accounts. Now, how do you go about figuring this all out? So on our website, on the university's website, there are student yearbooks that speak to what costs you can expect to be associated with your degree. They are ballpark, right? So it's on the assumption that you are doing a standard load and a standard program. So if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, it gets billed per module, and the provisional fee statement and the yearbook will say it's going to cost this. But if you're adding modules or if you're changing between modules, then the yearbook is not going to give you the best reflection. So go to the provisional fee statement option, and then you sign in, and then you can click your options for residence, for meals and things like that, and it will give you an idea. That is an exercise that is really helpful for parents to understand what the potential costs are and what you're in for the year. It is a useful exercise if you're making application for bursaries at this point, if they're external, but also it's a really good sense of what it costs to be at university. And I think as students, you need to realize how truly privileged you are and how what a great opportunity your parents are giving you to be able to be part of the next generation of university students. Yeah. 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 Yeah, absolutely. Because you don't know what your prescribed textbooks are going to look like until you show up. As part of it, the other part of it is some of it is available online, so you don't have to pay for the hard copy. So it just really depends on what the structure of the course actually looks like. No. So I mean, as a ballpark, you'd be lucky to get away with less than 10K for books for the year. And that's just a ballpark. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. All right, so contact information. So all the things we've been talking about, if you go to FinAid website, it's there. There is a call center. We have a service desk. And I was talking about admin A, right? So I don't know, on your way in, you probably saw a whole lot of cranes and construction and all sorts of things happening. So on a good day, we'd live in admin A, but until June next year, maybe. We're currently in the inorganic chemistry building. So the whole of Admin A has been decanted to all over the university. Student finance is currently living in the inorganic chemistry building. When registration rolls around and the beginning of the year, we will communicate in advance where we will be, because the space isn't big enough for the influx of people at the beginning of the year, right? So just kind of watch that space. But the starting point, I think, if you've got queries and stuff once you are here, is to start with a service desk query. And then we'll go from there. Okay. And then obviously there's the same level of support on Tygerberg campus. That's all from us for now. Are there any additional questions? Anything I didn't cover? Anything? Yes.
You have like 8 subjects. Do they take your top 7, or do they take your compulsory and then the other top 3?
That calculation is actually done by our admissions office, academic office. But so we work off the averages that we get from the system. But the compulsory subjects obviously are taken in consideration first. I see you smiling. And then they do have, we can find out for you, they do have a calculation that they do, and similar for the students doing the international examination, there is a conversion done for board for those averages as well. But it is automatic. The award is automatic. So it's not that we're sitting with a list and we're ranking, and it's a systems-driven type of thing. And you will get communications. There are obviously terms and conditions with all bursaries. There is some additional information, and that normally, when a bursary is awarded to a student, that gets sent to the student so that the student always knows if it's a once-off allocation, if it is for 3 years for the duration of your course. So all that information is communicated by our bursary coordinators to each student that receives some type of funding. Okay. 15 for the VC, if I'm correct. Yeah. 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 So the access, you'll see with the access awards, those are for quintile 1 to 4 schools. So there are different types of criteria for the 4 categories. And this is also on our website if you want to go have a look. So for the access awards, there are different amounts. For 80 to 85, there's 5,000, and then it increases. 90 would get 10,000. And then the Excel is for the top 1 to 5% per faculty, students per faculty. Yeah. So those are the Excel, and before that you get the top achievers. So the amounts differ per category. Yeah.
Sorry, I was flipping through
Yeah.
those and I see the cameras up. Just let me know if I need to go back or forwards.
Any other questions? No, nothing. We'll.
Yes, hi. Yes. Yeah.
Yes. So so we do look at most funding is based on total cost of attendance. So we do look at a student when we do nominate students as well, and you're on the list. We will go and look on your profile just to make sure that there's no, because we do understand there are external bursaries where students apply directly, and that is not that application doesn't run with us. So like the SASOL, SANROL, you get a lot of companies outside of Stellenbosch University where you apply directly, and that is paid onto either sometimes they pay directly on your fee account, or sometimes it's managed through the fees office. But we do a check to see if you need the money, has the money been paid? But it's also, the onus is also on the student to come and declare anything, should we have missed something, because it will be picked up at some point, but obviously you don't want to take an opportunity away from someone else. Yeah. Yes. That is for the category 2. It's for the category. Yeah. Are you referring to the top achievers or which one? So there are 2 categories. Down. Up. Yeah, so the first category is for the top 10 first years enrolled, and that's throughout. And then there's another category within the same, so for the quintile 1 to 4. Yes, so those are specifically that category 2 is for 1 to 4. Yeah, the access is just for quintile 1 to 4. The total value for access and top achievers are different as well, you'll see.
I also just think it's important if you do get an external bursary, whether it is kind of in the shape of a donation bursary, if it's from a trust or a foundation or anything like that, or if you get a contract bursary where you say to Capitec, please pay my fees, and then I'll come and work for you for every year you pay for my fees, right? That happens a lot, and that's a great opportunity. But if you have something like that, you need to bring your award letter to the fees office, because what's going to happen is you're sitting comfortably in this knowledge that you've got coverage, which is fantastic. But they only pay in cycles, right? So you're going to be running up a bill, and then your parents are going to start getting panicked, and you're going to start getting panicked because nothing's getting paid. And then eventually the university is going to go, well, we're going to, you can't add anything more here because where's the proof of payment, right? But if you've got that contract with an external client, you say, this is the contract, they commit to pay 180,000 Rand. This is what it looks like. So tuition, accommodation, they typically split it up to say, you can have 40,000 Rand for food, or you can have 20,000 Rand for books. So even if that money hasn't come in yet, we release the access to that money to you with the promise that they're going to pay, right? So if we don't have that breakdown, there's going to come a point where we go, we're done with you now until either somebody pays or you come with that letter, right? So it's better to get it up front and load it up front so that your year is kind of seamless. Because what's going to happen is if you have a debt come mid-year, you won't necessarily have access to your results. Yes, you can continue, but you won't really know what's happening in your life. And then at the end of the year, if there's still a debt on the account and there's no, for want of a better word, guarantee that the money's going to get paid by this external bursary, you will not only not see your results at the end of the year, you also won't be able to register the next year, right? So that sharing of information is super important to make sure that your journey is smooth throughout the year.